Hello. Sorry, I have to stand on the throne to, fit inside of the camera view. But in the video before last, I talked about a no-HUD run of Final Fantasy XIV that was born from my complaints of YouTubers and streamers who have way too much crap on their screen so that you can't really see the game. And I just wanted to really quickly stress that this is not a problem that's specifically unique to Final Fantasy XIV. I can't think of a single MMO that doesn't actually have this problem, especially more recent ones, where if you go to their store page, well, not their store page, because the store page is always a lie. The store page will always show you screenshots of just the gameplay with either the HUD disabled or many of the elements turned off. But if you pull up a stream, or even watch the developers play the game, you can see that they have all sorts of junk all over the place. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, something about a sword legend, I forget the name of it. MMOs in general just have very cluttered and messy HUDs and UIs, and the amount of actual usable game screen is always something that gets on my nerves, because to people who aren't familiar with said game or with MMOs in general, they're always left wondering what the heck it is they're looking at. Like an Excel spreadsheet ate a child's Crayola paint kit and then threw it all up into a video game, and it's a nightmare. It's visual soup, and not very tasty visual soup. The stuff that you actually want to see, which is usually the spectacle of whatever you're fighting, raid bosses doing special moves, or the animation and the effects that come out of your weapon when you use a certain combination of skills or whatever. All of that gets buried underneath the nightmare that is cooldowns that you should have memorized by now. Skill bars and party menus and maps and various other information, and I ended up in a situation where I was like, how much of this stuff is actually relevant? In my time playing Final Fantasy XIV before, I was able to kind of sift through a majority of all of those menus and get rid of all of the things that I didn't need exactly in that moment. And that really helped to sort of clear up some of the space so that you were enjoying more of the actual game. But I recently discovered that it wasn't really enough. There's a new batch of player who are all very quick to brag about how good they are at the game, how they've week one a savage raid, or they've done X dungeon on day one, and I go, yeah, that's cool, but your screen looks like crap. So I've kind of issued a challenge to myself, because I was good back then and I know that I'm good now, that I can do pretty much everything that your current player can do, and I can do it with a screen that people will want to look at. I can do it because I know how many frames it takes to cast a spell. I know what enemy I'm targeting, and I for sure know my own damn name, and I don't need it on display over my head the entire time. Now, in the previous video, I did say that it was going to be no HUD, which may or may not have been accurate. No HUD is actually kind of unplayable, because in order to navigate the game in any sort of effective fashion, you need some bits of information. So if you play on controller, you probably know that there's a mode for screenshots where we'll just turn off everything. But this is not ideal because you aren't able to read the character's dialogue if you're talking to an NPC. And I need the context of whoever I'm talking to know where I need to be going next. Also, if you're a healer, then you're going to need to know the status of your party members. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you need the entire list and the exact details of everybody's HP in the moment. So what I've decided is that depending on the role, I will have different HUD setups, and I will sort of explain why certain things are on and why they're set to the transparency or the size that they're on. Because ideally, the goal is to ultimately leave as much game screen as possible free and visible.